morning, all of you. Today we are going to discuss about the reading skill. Reading is generally defined as a process that helps us to decode, decipher, and identify the word in print, articulate, speak, and pronounce the words in print, understand and interpret, and sense the meaning of the words in print. When reading starts in the child's mother tongue, he or she does not face any trouble. Then objective of reading skill is that a student will be able to tell the role of reading. A student will be able to understand the importance of reading skill. A student will be able to understand the difference between extensive and intensive reading. A student will be able to understand the concept of sub skills of reading, and a student will be able to understand about the importance of study skills. Then sub skills of reading and efficient reading is diverse in several ways of interacting um, with various types of text. He or she is flexible and choose appropriate reading strategies depending upon the particular text that he she intends to read. And efficient reading is able to switch styles according to the type of the text. So a reader has to match reading skills with reading purpose. We would not, for example, read an extract from a 17th century novel in same way as we would read the entertainment page in the newspaper to look for the particular program. Skilled readers can scan to locate specific information in a text and scheme to extract general information from the text. The major sub skill of reading that the reader may adopt are as follows: skimming, scanning, extensive reading. So skimming is when we go to book exhibition that we do. Do we buy any book that we lay our hands on? No. We look at the titles of the books, go through the content page, flip through the pages quickly, go through the short write upon the blurb, and so on. In short, we try to find out what the book is about before we decide to buy it. In other words, we skim through the book. Skimming is looking quickly over a text to get a general superficial idea of the content. Then scanning, when we want to find out the telephone number of any individual, we do not read the telephone dictionary from the beginning. We go to the relevant page, run our eyes through it till we locate the name, and then find number of that person. In other words, we scan the dictionary. Scanning is looking quickly through the text, searching for the specific piece of information. We use the same technique when we look up a dictionary to find out the meaning of a particular word. Intensive reading, when we read shorter text like a research paper for extracting specific information, we read slowly, intensively, and this is called intensive reading. Then in real life our reading purpose often varies, and so we have to devise varied exercises for practice according to the type of text and purpose of reading it. Efficient readers interrogate materials of different types by looking for clues in titles, subtitles, and within the passage itself. Pre-reading questions can be useful because they focus the reader's attention on the kind of the information that the reader is expected to come across in the text. When working on the page of classified advertisement ads, for example, it would be highly artificial to work on exercises requiring detailed comprehension of ads. Such activities would be boring and would only discourage the student. So importance of reading skill is that whether you are engaged in a novel, poring over a newspaper, or just looking at the sign, reading skills allows you to interpret and become engaged in the world around you. According to the National Institute of Child Health and Human Development, reading is the single most important skill necessary for a happy, productive, and successful life. Developing those skills takes active engagement from an early age. Good readers can understand the individual sentences and the organizational structure of piece of writing. They can comprehend ideas, follows arguments, and detect implications. They know most of the words in the text already, but they can also determine the meaning of many of the unfamiliar words from the context. Failing this, they can use their dictionary effectively to do so. In summary, good readers can extract from the writing what is important for the particular task they are employed in, and they can do it quickly. Educational researchers have also found a strong correlation between reading and vocabulary knowledge. In other words, students who have a large vocabulary are usually good readers. This is not very surprising, since the best way to acquire a large vocabulary is to read extensively, and if you read extensively, you are likely to be or become a good reader. So reading to learn, children today have many opportunities to gather information. Books are not the only tools children are exposed to. Using a smartphone, reading from an electronic tablet, or researching on a computer has opened the floodgates for finding and accessing information. A student with reading skills necessary to access and use information is not just learning to read, but also reading to learn. With proper reading skills, he or she can explore topics ranging from how spiders spin silky webs to the details of Wright brothers first flight in North Carolina. Then creating lifelong readers, fluency, decoding, and vocabulary development are needed to comprehend written material. Readers use this skill to interpret and understand written words on a page. They read often from a wide variety of materials. They read to find out more about the world in which they live and use that information to improve their lives. Lifelong readers think critically about what they have read and make connections to their own lives. They apply their skills in language and writing skills, writing development. Then successful students, whether the author is writing to inform, persuade, give direction, or entertain, he or she is communicating to his or her audience. A person who can read has ability to emphasize with and connect to the characters in a story. A reader builds background knowledge about many different subjects that he or she can later use. Students with the necessary reading skills can later develop writing and language skill necessary for academic and professional success. So, if you want your student to be successful at school, encouragement him or her to read. Reading non-fiction in English is probably the most important, but English fiction and any reading in the mother tongue, if done extensively, will help your child develop the reading competence that is essential for academic achievement. Then, types of reading. The main purpose of reading is comprehension, that is, understanding the meaning of the words and relationship between ideas. There are six types of reading which lead to comprehension. They are loud, silent, extensive, intensive, supplementary, and library reading. Then, loud reading. Loud reading is also known as oral reading. It is introduced after 2 months of after the student has learned to read his textbook. It teaches the student to read with correct pronunciation, articulation, intonation, stress, and rhythm. It enables the student to read with expression. It helps the teacher to evaluate the student's knowledge of spoken words, phrases, and sentences. It aids the student to read with understanding and paves the way to silent reading. The objective of loud reading is as following: to enable a student to read with correct pronunciation, articulating in intonation, stress, and rhythm, to test the student's knowledge of speaking words, phrases, and sentences, to enable a student to read with expression, to prepare students for effective silent reading. Then procedure: the teacher reads aloud any particular passage, paying attention to correct pronunciation, articulation, rhythm, etc. The passage is selected taking into consideration and comprehending capacity of the students. This followed by the students reading aloud the same passage. The teacher corrects the mistakes of pronunciation, articulation, etc. After the student has finished reading at the junior level, accuracy in reading is stressed and speed is emphasized at the junior level. Word by word reading would not be encouraged while the word recognition can be developed. Then precaution should be taken. The loud reading should be given only if the teacher has given model reading. The passage for the reading should be within the comprehension power of the student. Frisby has suggested that overemphasis on reading aloud in the early stage will often promote word by word reading and pattern reading by the teacher and may not help in any long term way. Positive measures to improve phrases and recognition may be taken by the institution material, followed by a few questions to make sure that what has been read has also been understood. Before loud reading, pronunciation drill is essential. Weak students should be given special attention. In beginning, speed should never be emphasized. The teacher should check the student's posture while reading. Then advantages: the student learns to read properly. He develops the skill of speech and can learn elocution. Makes in pronunciation, articulation, stress are connected at an early stage. The various ensure organs such as ears, eyes, and mouth is trained simultaneously. The students learn by imitation, which is a natural method of learning. Then disadvantage: the disadvantage of this method are that some students may not enjoy reading aloud. It does not help deep understanding of the text. In later life, silent reading is preferred, and if a student becomes used to reading aloud and cannot become extensive reader, the other student of the class are distracted when one student is reading aloud. Thus, only a few students get the benefit of this. And the loud reading having limitation, as loud reading is not a source of pleasure. It does not help in penetrating the meaning. In later life, it is silent reading which is preferred. If a student becomes habitual to loud reading, he cannot become an extensive reader. It has been often found that students of the class pay no heed to what the other student is reading aloud. In public places like library and reading room, only silent reading is allowed. So, what is silent reading? This is a very important type of reading. Along with the ability to read aloud, the children may be encouraged to read silently. Most of the reading done at the higher stage of learning should be of this kind only. The purpose of silent reading is to encourage the students to read with comprehension. Silent reading is sometimes considered as recreational reading or independent reading, as in silent reading. Something is read in a relaxed mood and only a single individual remains concentrated about it. Reading silently improves students' understanding because it helps them concentrate on what they are reading rather than the pronunciation of individual words. When we read silently, we can form mental pictures of the topic being read and discussed. Also, we do not need to read one word at a time. As teachers, when you encourage your student to read silently, you are helping them developing the strategies they need for reading fast and when better comprehension. This is called reading efficiency, and it will help your student to read any text with maximum attention to meaning. Silent reading also helps develop the skills of reading for a purpose, as the focus is on understanding the content without having the additional burden to pay attention to pronunciation. This is because silent reading helps a student to focus their attention on the text. They are increase the concentration on the text is sustained until the entire text is read. This also helps students absorb ideas into their subconscious mind and then use them in their daily lives. So procedure is that teacher explains about the silent reading. After that, he asks students to read the passage silently. The teacher takes round of the class and check whether the student are whispering, murmuring, and their posture of reading. After some time, she asks a few questions to test the understanding. Then precaution: only those passages should be read which can be understood and appreciated. The paragraph of the reading should be not much long. Necessary instruction must be given before silent reading. Then advantages: it saves time and energy. It develops the ability to read with interest. In later life, it has immense value because it is used in public places and higher classes. According to Rabin, it enables attention and energy to be concentrated on meaning, so saves the division of attention, resulting in greater assimilation of knowledge. Then disadvantage: it cannot be checked whether a student is reading or not. The mistakes done by students during silent reading cannot be corrected. Sometimes a student cannot understand some part of the passage, but they cannot take help of teachers. Then importance of silent reading to help you read faster. Reading out loud slows down your reading speed. If you usually read out loud, you will start reading out the words in your head even when you are reading silently, and so reduce your reading speed all the time to the speed when you are reading out loud. To improve understanding, because half of your brain is concentrating on pronunciation when you read out loud, your comprehension is much less than when you are reading silently. The same is true when listening to the other people reading out loud. Then to help you ignore words you don't need. When you are reading out loud, you have to think about the pronouns to every word in the text, but there are many words you don't need to be able to pronounce and or understand, such as people's names and places. When you are reading silently, you can just skip past anything that you think is too difficult or not important, and then go back to it later if you need to. Then fourth, to allow you to reread. If you are reading out loud, once you have read a word or sentence with the right pronunciation, it is normal to move on to the next part. If it was an important and difficult to understand part, through though it can be um, worthwhile to read it once or twice more. This is much easier and quicker when you are reading silently. And to help you read whole words at once, when you are reading out loud, it is normal to read each word from the first letter to the last in the same way it is pronounced, but it is possible to read faster by looking at a whole word or even groups of words at the same time and then moving on to the next section. To move quickly to the information you need, reading out loud means reading each sentence in order. With most comprehension questions in exams and textbooks, it is much quicker and easier to read the question and then quickly skim and scan until you reach the part of the text where the information is. You can then read that part slowly and carefully and as many times as you like. To involve all the students, it is very difficult to concentrate when another person is reading out loud, and even if you are listening carefully, it is not good listening comprehension practice, as unlike real life, you have the text in front of you to read to give a good model. Other students are not usually a good model of pronunciation and speaking at natural speed. So, listening to them read out loud is not likely to improve your pronunciation and listening skill. To stop you moving your lips, some people who have done most of their reading out loud move their lips as it they are speaking, even when reading silently. This slows down your reading speed and can be embarrassing if people see you. Then, to help your listening comprehension, text and peoples you will need to listen to will be uh, much faster than you reading a text out loud. So, reading silently and quickly is actually better practice for real life listening comprehension than reading out loudest. Then extensive reading. Extensive reading occurs when the learner is focused on language rather than the text. For example, the learner may be answering comprehension questions, learning new vocabulary, studying the grammar and expression in the text, translating the passage, sometimes called careful reading, or other takes that involve the student in looking extensively inside the text. Most often, all the students read the same short text that the teacher decided. The advantage of IR is that it focuses the learner on certain aspects of the language. However, IR is usually done with difficult text with many unknown words that require the learner to use a dictionary. This means the reading is slow and that there are few opportunities for the learner to learn to read smoothly, because she has to stop every few seconds to work on something she cannot understand. This slows or prevents the development of fluent eye movement that are so necessary to improve one's reading skill. IR is the most typically taught method of teaching reading. Unfortunately, some teachers only know this method and believe that by teaching the vocabulary and grammar, that is all the learners needs. This is not so. He or she also needs practice in reading and to be trained in developing reading skills. However, some people feel that extensive reading can be disadvantageous too. The major drawback found in this strategy is that students need to spend a lot of time in reading even a short text. Perhaps this is helpful at the lower level, but as the students progress is comprehending different reading texts, teacher can guide them to read fast and to get most from the text. Many studies have shown that students who have learned to read using different techniques feel comfortable even with difficult or longer text. So extensive reading is reading as much as possible for your own pleasure at a difficulty level at which you can read smoothly and quickly without looking up words or translating to English as you go. In other words, instead of spending a half hours decoding a teeny part of one book, also known as intensive reading, you read many simpler books that are at or slightly below the level at which you read fluently. This lets you get used to reading more complex sentences with ease, reinforces the words you already know, and helps you learn new words from the context. What are the principles of extensive reading? Start with the stories that are well below your fluent reading level, and while reading follow these principles. Don't look up words in the dictionary. Skip over parts you don't understand. If you aren't enjoying one book, put it aside and get another. Finally, keep track of your progress. Why start at such a basic level? It helps you get used to reading quickly, since you should know most of the words already. You hardly have to think about them. The sentences are simpler, so you can understand them immediately, and as you start reading more complex sentences, you will have an intuitive sense of how they fit together. It helps you to learn to use the information in the text to figure out unknown words instead of a dictionary, and you get a sense of where your fluent reading level is, and so as you improve, you and can help when a book is too hard or too easy. Words that are part of the basic books are basic words themselves, and as you see them over and over, you learn them quickly, and when you progress to more advanced books, you will know those basic words without having to think about them. Then you can finish books in a reasonable amount of time, so you don't get bored with one book. Then skills are the skills you need to enable you to study and learn efficiently. This study skills or supplementary skills are very crucial for students when they progress in their studies. Then note taking is one of the study skill. The students write some points on a certain passage read. This is an important skill for the development of the points on a certain passage read. This is an important skill for the development of their abilities of comprehension and expression. Sometimes they may have to read the passage more than once. They must know what to note and what to leave in the passage. This skill can be improved among the students by encouraging them to take notes when they listen to their teachers. Encourage them to take notes from radio talks or television programs. Note making is one of the study skills. It is the process wherein the students prepare a brief summary of what they have written in the name of note taking. While making notes, narration is the first person, has to be written in the third person. Then process involved in note taking making. The person interested in making notes should read the whole text at least twice. Decide the title for the text. Reduce the text into an outline with all the important points. Divide it into main subpoints on the basis of title given to the text. Prepare the notes in such a manner that he can reconstruct the original passage at a later date. Then not change the logical sequence of ideas given in the text. Then reference skill. There are a number of instructional instruments that can be called essential aids in language learning and teaching. They essential for reference purposes, locating, sorting, or retrieving information and study. Unfortunately, it has got least importance in classroom situation. Locating information, gathering information, scheming, scanning, extensive reading, storing information, note taking, note making, summarizing, and information transfer involving graphic and pictorial material, charts, tables, maps, etc. Then retrieving and interpreting information, the use of the library for locating the sources of information, making summaries, etc. So the use of treasures and dictionary and encyclopedia, etc. Then dictionary, a suitable dictionary, and the ability to use it in an important aid to independence in reading, especially in the learning of language, English, which is a foreign language. Once the learner has passed the stage of extensively glossed as well as carefully graded readers and simplified abridged books, he will be required to read unabridged books similar to the real life situation, when even when he has already been trained and encouraged to guess the meaning of the words or expression with the help of the contextual clues provided. This may not always be sufficiently helpful. It is here that training in the use of the dictionary becomes relevant. He may need guidance and assistance in reacting quickly to the use of the order of the letters in the alphabet, as well as the catchwords appearing at the top of each page. However, he should be warned against an excessive and indiscriminate use of the dictionary. The dictionary is like a medicine which should be used only when one must need. Most pedagogical and learners dictionaries nowadays give not only the pronunciation, spelling, and meanings, but also examples of uses with illustration, variations in the British American spelling, collocations, exceptions, and a lot of information necessary to learn English. The learners must be taught how to use such dictionaries. For example, Longman Dictionary of Contemporary English gives picture illustrations for the entry bird. Pictures are given for sparrow, kingfisher, pigeon, woodpeckers, crow, etc. And the names of the parts like feather, wing, bill, etc. are shown for a bird. A person who gets up or arrives early will be successful. Kill two birds with the same stone, etc. Learners may be trained to look up such dictionaries often so that their vocabulary gets expanded. Cambridge International Dictionary of English 1995, under the entry child, gives the meanings and uses of related expression like child abuse, child care, etc. And useful quotation like the child is the father of the man, Wordsworth. There is a wealth of information in the modern dictionaries. Then Longman Essential Activator is a word bank that contains all essential information to help the learner to put ideas into words. Then Macmillan Dictionary for Advanced Learners comes with CD-ROM, two similar but separate editions, one for the British variety and another for American variety, are available. This dictionary is highly innovative and user friendly. Then encyclopedia. An encyclopedia is another useful source of information and knowledge. An encyclopedia is arranged in an alphabetical order by subject. On the spine of each volume, the letters how the subject covered. For example, volume 1 AC covers all the subjects and the first letter of whose titles are between A and C. There are also be cross references for certain subjects, that is see also volume 4, where there also an index at the end of the last volume to help the users. The following are some of the general encyclopedias: the New Encyclopedia Britannica, Encyclopedia Americana, and Collier's Encyclopedia, 24 volumes, and New Columbia Encyclopedia, 1 volume. There are also a number of abridged versions of dictionaries and encyclopedias in the market. Then the Thesaurus. The Thesaurus is another useful book for reference purpose. Roget's Thesaurus of English words and phrases is the standard one. A thesaurus is converts a dictionary in which the ideas being given, one can find the words and phrases by which the idea may be most adaptly expressed. The arrangement is according to the meaning of the words. It gives all synonyms in terms of meaning categories. For example, in the section on formation of ideas, we find all words related to intellect, absence of intellect, thought, idea, curiosity, in curiosity, attention, inattention, acre, neglect, etc. Under intellect, we find all related words. And intellect, noun, that is intellect, mind, understanding, reasoning, rationality. Then in verb, note, notice, mark, take notice, concise, cognizance of. Then adjective, intellectual, mental, rational, etc. There are several versions like the new Roget's thesaurus, dictionary form, and even abridged versions. In summary, reading is, or in conclusion, reading is generally defined as a process that helps us to decode, decipher, and identify the words in print, articulate, speak, and pronounce the words in print, understand, and interpret, and sense the meaning of the words in print. The major sub skill of reading that the reader may adopt are as follows: skimming, scanning, and extensive reading. So, in glossary, skimming is looking quickly over a text to get a general superficial idea of the content, and scanning is looking quickly through the text, searching for the a specific piece of information. Then loud reading is also known as oral reading. It teaches the student to read with correct pronunciation, articulation, intonation, stress, and rhythm, and it enables the student to read with expression. Then for silent reading, this is the very important type of reading, along with the ability to read aloud. The children may be encouraged to read silently. Most of the reading done at the higher stage of learning should be of this kind only. Then extensive reading. Extensive reading occurs when the learner is focused on the language rather than the text. For example, the learner may be answering comprehension questions, learning new vocabulary, studying the grammar and expression in the text. Then extensive reading. Extensive reading is reading as much as possible for your own pleasure at a difficulty level at which you can read smoothly and quickly without looking up words or translating to English as you go. So, in reference, Freeman A. 1991, Mastering Study Skills, London, the Macmillan Press Limited, and Britton J. 1975, Teaching Writing in a Davis It Problem of Language and Learning, London, Hamilton, and Cook V. 1991, Second Language Learning and Language Teaching, London, Edward Arnold, and Crystal D. 1986, Listen to Your Child, A Parent's Guide to Children's Language, Herman's Worth, Penguin Books. And thank you very much for listening. Thank you.